getting ready to start our 66th Ask Tamily interview, which will be with Ariana. Her Instagram name is Mama Chaba, and she will be joining in just a moment. Of course, we have questions planned for Ariana, but it's the most fun when you actually type in live questions, so we can ask her those as we go through the interview. So keep that in mind, but of course we do have our list planned for her, and we will get connected in just a moment. I literally can't believe every week when we say how many Ask Tamily interviews we have, and that we're on 66. 66 Tamily members have been interviewed. So remember, if you want to be interviewed, you can let us know, or if there's somebody you want us to ask, if they want to be interviewed. We do have certainly the rest of this month, and I think November planned already, I think. But, you know, we plan on doing an Ask Tamily interview every weekend forever. So, we definitely will want to get through lots more than 66, but 66 is so many. It's really, really super amazing. So I don't see Ariana yet, but we will get connected in just a moment. Think of the questions you guys are going to ask her. She's been doing the method for a really long time. I actually don't know how long. Clearly, that's one of the questions we'll ask. But I think years and years. So it should definitely be really interesting to talk to her. I know I always look at her posts, and I think it's just another cool thing that it's another Tamily member that is totally across the world, but we connect with every single day. So let me just check if she's in yet. She's not, but thank you guys for being patient and watching. We did check the internet connection, and everything is cool, so no worries on the connection. Muna helped us with that because she had connected with us too. So I see Ariana and her connected to us. I should just take a second. It says connecting. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's all working. The lighting's still a bit terrible on my side, but it's okay. We're good.
It looks, artsy. Well, thank you so much, Ariana, for joining us. You're actually our 66th Ask Tamily interview, so we are really excited to talk to you about the method.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to be here. I'm very flattered.
Absolutely. So we want to start with our first question we usually ask, which is, when and how did you start the Anderson method?
Okay, so I started January 2011. So I was, basically I used to be a runner, so I used to do a lot of long distance running, and I used to be, cardio junkie, used to do spinning all the time, HIIT, all those things. And I got injured, and so I kind of was taking it easy, and we were moving to Dubai from France. And so I was living out of a suitcase for a month or two. And I figured, well, let me just look on YouTube and see what workouts are out there that are a bit calmer. And I was totally not into things like Pilates or yoga or anything based on a mat, because I just felt like it wasn't, something where I could burn calories and really kind of get all my energy out and whatever. But I figured I have no choice. Let's do it. And my sister had told me about Tracey Anderson. So I just started with her webisodes, and then that turned into Metamorphosis, and then I did Metamorphosis. I started seeing results quite quickly, which was nice, and then I kind of took it from there, and then did continuity, and then When that was over after a few years, I was really happy to discover streaming. So this streaming's been really good, and I've been doing it ever since. So yeah, I mean that's the kind of short answer.
Yeah. So there difficulty in transitioning from like running and things like that to just it, or when you did that for all that time?
Well, transitioning, I think if I hadn't been injured and if I hadn't been like forcing myself to kind of take it easy with the whole jumping and everything, it would have been difficult. And to be honest, I was very dubious. I mean, I've not, like I've never been overweight, but I remember like when I started getting into running and spinning and all of those things, my main objective was really to kind of burn calories, be in shape. I enjoyed running as well and spinning and all those things. But really the primary objective was to eat as much as I want and exercise so that I can eat as much as I want. And so when I transitioned into Tracey, I was like, I don't know how this mat work is going to get me like doing, you know, the same kind of burn. I was afraid it wasn't going to be challenging enough. But then, you know, it had different challenges, and I felt like it was, and I saw results. You know, I felt like, oh, my body's changing, and the first kind of 6 months, 9 months, year, I was like, okay, and then I started doing the dance cardio as well, and I thought that was really cool because it's really good for your coordination, and I started just becoming a better mover, and so I saw other benefits that I had never seen with other forms of exercise. So I really liked that, and so I was hooked. You know, after like a month or two of meta, I was already like getting hooked, and I was a really good student. Like I've always been a very good like do it every day, and I used to even do cardio and the mat work at the time. So I was really like sticking to it. And yeah, so the transition made itself pretty easily in the end.
So especially since we're already physically active, what kind of results did you see? And like, what about any?
In terms of like I was already fit, so I didn't have weight to lose, but I remember always thinking, there was always this insecurity that I had as a teenager, that I had big legs, like I had big muscular legs. And so initially that was one of the things I saw that was different. And at the time, Tracey used to advertise being teeny tiny. And I know like she's been criticized for it and whatever. And she even like, you know, dismisses that. But at the time, that was the hook for me. I was like, oh, I want teeny tiny legs, you know. And so when I started seeing a change in shape, not really losing weight so much, but just the change in shape, I was, you know, that was one of the first results, and I was really happy. But then over time, I saw so many other benefits, you know. So things like I said, coordination, and I just like felt looser and just more balanced, and like my arms were stronger, my back felt stronger, my core felt stronger, like in ways that were just different, and that brought me confidence. You know, I think when you feel overall, you know, stronger, it feels good, and so I think that's one of the things that I had never gotten from any other form of fitness. But I have never done dance, I've never done any martial arts or anything like that, so maybe people who come from that background wouldn't have found that, but I totally did, because I was like spinning, running, you know, swimming, stuff like that.
So, what is your routine about working out now? What's your philosophy about rest day?
Okay, that's a good question. So initially, like I said, I was doing it every day, and I was doing dance cardio. I was like, honestly, it was too much. And I did that for many, many years, and I would do it after work. So at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, when the kids were like out of their showers and dinner and stuff. So it would be like an hour and a half, 2 hours almost, you know, every day. And I would do it 5 or 6 times a week. So I did that for several years, and it's only when I transitioned to like year 3 in streaming that I figured like, this is too much. And at some point, I think with age as well, I don't know, like a lot of things made me just kind of want to scale down a little bit, and it's easy to get very obsessed, with something like the Tracey Anderson method. It's really easy to get addicted to stuff like that when you're the type of person who does it every day and whatever. There would be days where if I didn't do it, I'd be like this, if I didn't get the cardio in, I'd feel kind of guilty. And so I felt that was unhealthy. And I think also when I neared 40, my body was telling me like, chill out a little bit. And so that's when I scaled down on the cardio. I don't do it as a rule. I do it when I feel like it. When I want to do cardio, I swap the arms for the cardio. And I just put on my own music and, dance away. And then I do the rest of streaming. And having said that, today I will never spend more than an hour on the workout. I'll do it almost every day. But if I'm feeling tired, like I'm not going to do Attain if, 7 days in a row if I'm exhausted. So there are weeks where I find it exhausting to do Attain every day. So I'll just do IMC or sometimes she has these like bonus things in premium, like her old premium stuff. And those are really good. So sometimes I'll just do one of those, and I do it every morning. So the kids go to school. If I go to work, that's my hour of meditation. And then I don't do anything anymore, like it's done. I leave it on the mat and then I get on with my day. So today that's my routine and I'm quite happy with it. And I'm happy to have scaled down, because I just feel like I was spending way too much time on it. And it just, after a while, it's like the law of diminishing returns. It doesn't bring you anything additional. You know what I mean? So that's my philosophy.
That's excellent, especially to the point that Tracey makes about us finding what's right for us. It's got to be formula for you.
Yeah, totally. Also, the other thing I find is like, it's, but it took time, and I think it's with age. I feel like, we put so much pressure on ourselves, to want to perform and to exercise and to eat really clean and do all these things. And it's like society and ourselves, like it's a mixture of things that puts a lot of pressure on ourselves. And at some point, like the skin is going to sag, and at some point, like stuff will not be like it was when you were 25 or 30. So at some point you have to kind of go, wait a minute, like my objective now is not as much vanity as it was before. I'm more like, of course I still want to fit into my jeans and I wouldn't want to gain like 20 pounds, but at the same time I do it like much more for well-being now than I did when I was younger, so I'll do it just because I need that time by myself and I love what it brings to me, and I find it's such a good method for like your brain, for your coordination, to keep you agile, to keep you young and nimble and moving smoothly. Like it's such a great method for that, in my opinion.
Have you ever had the opportunity to go to a studio or a Vitality?
I have. So I've only been to a Vitality Week. I went to the London Vitality Week in 2017. So I think it was like 2 summers ago. And that was okay. I mean, it was the best part of the Vitality Week was getting to meet all the women who were there. It's amazing because you meet all these people that you've seen on Instagram. I mean, like one or two, I had like Moona, I had already met before because she lives in the UAE, but the others I had just seen on Instagram, and some of them I felt like I already knew them, like people like, there was a few French girls that I was connecting with, or there was, Mariam, like I don't even remember, Malaysia, like I don't even remember if that's the first time I saw her or not, because I just feel like I've known her forever, you know what I mean? Like, and I had that feeling, you get that feeling when you see other family members and you're like, I feel like I know you already, so that was amazing. And one tip I would say, if anybody is doing a Vitality Week, one of the mistakes I made was I clubbed it with a family holiday. And so I wasn't like 110% into the Vitality Week. So I chose to kind of like spend some time with the girls, but then some time as well with my family. And so to me, I felt like I compromised a little bit, which, was okay. But if I had to redo it again, I think I would go to one of her studios and like alone, or with other like Tamily members. Because I think that's really cool. And then the other thing is in London, I think she wasn't in her element. Like Tracey couldn't control the heat and the music, the sound and stuff like that. So it made it like it wasn't the optimal conditions. So I think it's better to do it in one of her studios where she feels like, so it was good. Now, having said that, we were a lot of people in London, and we didn't like all the nuggets of like wisdom and stuff and the talks that she gave. They were good, but because you're a big group, it's harder to have that direct contact with her. So it's not like I got to meet her. It's not like I got to chat with her or anything like that. So I think it's better maybe to do it on an off season or something, like when you're not like 100 or 50, because we were like a lot of women at the London ones. That's the only thing, but it was really good. It was really, really good.
That's excellent. So how do you personally get and stay motivated to work out, especially after all these years?
Oh, I'm not like, I've always worked out all the time. So for me, actually, it's hard for me to not work out. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, it would be, it's harder for me to say like, okay, I'm going to take a day off, like I really have to make a conscious effort. So I'm like at the other extreme. Because to stay motivated, I mean, I think the community definitely helps. I think just having everybody, talk about the workout of that week, or having some of the chats that will talk about it, or I think that whole community really helps. Has helped in my longevity with the method. But I stay motivated also because she's evolved with time, right? Like if she had stayed and just did DVDs forever, I don't think I would have, I wouldn't have done a mat workout for 9 years. But then she did, she did meta and continuity and then streaming, and streaming keeps evolving. So she's also evolved. Like I don't think she does this exact same stuff, but it's slightly changed. So that's also motivating, and the fact that every week it changes, I like that. So for me, I don't find it hard. It's just a habit, and it's a habit I've been able to keep because I'm like the content keeps being interesting, and the people around it, the community keeps growing as well.
Yeah, even the change we just did with having the Spotify workout, it's like a whole nother new thing to me. It's so exciting.
Totally.
It's amazing. I'm so glad that she has that practice because it really does change it for you.
It does, and I think like, remember, I don't know, were you around, like I guess you were if you're an old-time Tamer, when there was the forum. Remember the forum? There was like a forum on her website, and then like and then that went, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, the forum disappeared! It's a disaster!" And I think everything's on Instagram, and oh my God, and we have to create a Facebook page, and like that whole thing evolved, and then streaming, and and then she does so much now, right? Like we were just getting an advanced class, which to me was fine. Like I was completely okay. Maybe some weeks would have been nice to have something like IMC, and when she put IMC, everybody loved it. And then she put beginners, and now she's training out the cardio, the beginners, the bonus, the stuff. Like she's gotten her trainers involved. I think that's really good. She gives, the breakdowns. She gives tips at the end now. Like you actually hear her talk at the end, and then now with the playlist, it adds another dimension. It's really like, I think it's really nice how that program's evolved over the years. So I think, that's definitely what keeps it sticky.
So what would be your advice to someone that's brand new to the method?
To brand new to the method, as it depends. It depends if the person's why they're doing it. Is it like, have they ever exercised before or not? If someone's like, I know because I teach Pilates, and sometimes in my classes I'll take like 5-6 moves of Tracey's that she's included in one of her beginners or intermediate stuff, and I'll put it in. And these girls, I know them, and so we just, we do it week after week. And when there's a beginner that comes along, and I introduce them, on a one-on-one basis, and I just introduce her to the method, and I say, this is Tracey Henderson, these are the types of moves she does, and I'll run her through like a beginner's class or something like that. Some of them are, I think some of them are not ready to, like, they've never worked out before, haven't worked out in a long time, and just for whatever reason want to like start. For people like that, I would say just, like, whether it's Tracey or anything, my tip would be consistency. Like, just do it many times. Like, do it 5 times a week, 20 minutes a day, as opposed to twice a week, an hour a day, because habits aren't formed twice a week. Habits are things you do every day, like all the time. So I would say maybe take it easy, but do it very regularly. That would be tip number 1. And then tip number 2, specific to this method, would be watch the form. Start with BMC, like start with the beginners. Even if you are fit, if you come from a background where you're sporty, but you're already fit, but you just want something different, or you want to get back into a regular program, like a regular routine and whatever, I'd say still start with beginners, because there's a lot, like, the devil's in the detail, and I think she was saying it in IMC this week at the end of Fundamental. She was saying, you need to pay attention to the moves and the angles, because if you're doing it wrong, then it's gonna screw up your execution in Attain. So you really, like, even if you're fit and whatever, she didn't say it in those words, but you know what I mean? Like, start with the basics. Once you get the basics, you see yourself in the mirror, tape yourself, videotape yourself, and use the mirror. I think that's also another tip. And see how you move. And if you feel like, okay, I'm moving and I'm making it look easy, then you go to intermediate until you make that look easy, and then you go to Attain and strive to make that look easy. But I think, for me, like, when you master a class and it feels really nice and it feels good and it should be an effort, but but it should feel good, and I feel like when you're getting into something like this, it needs to feel good for you to repeat it and do it with consistency. And so don't go too hard. Start with the basics, like we did when we did Meta, and then work your way up. So at whatever pace suits you, So I think those are the things. But yeah, consistency. And if somebody is wanting to get into working out and hasn't been in a while, and what helps is this community. So I would just, follow all the people you feel are like inspiring, or people who you think are helpful, or people that you identify with. So not just the superstars, or not just people who are like you, who've been doing it every day. And I think like that's inspiring. You know what I mean? Like, so I think, surround yourself, like brainwash yourself into your, no, but it's true, right? Like it really helps it's easier, and you're more encouraged when you see people do the same thing, right? And yeah, so those would be my kind of tips, but I guess it really depends on the person.
Mm-hmm. So, who in the family inspires you?
Oh my God, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that question. There's so many, I think everybody does, like, in different ways, and I can't begin to, I should have prepared this, I should have written down. I can't name, like, everyone. What I can say is, initially, when I began in the community, when it was the forum, okay, the people who really coached me through it, like, we were 5-6 of us, and I don't even know if there's how active all of them are today with the Tracey Henderson method, but There was Lisa Rowe. She still does the method. She's in New Zealand. There's Kathy James, Shrink Girl. This woman, okay, I've always said I want to be like her when I grew up, because she used to always do like meta continuity, like we lived through all those things week by week, all of us together. And I think she had started streaming, I believe, and she had a stroke, and she was 50s, early 60s, and she kind of picked up and went back, and she's doing, like, she does BMC every day, you know, like, so people like that, like in that group of people, there was Change Girl, Tracey England was part of that little group when we started, Jillian Corey, like the Sunshine, like Jillian has always inspired me for her, like positivity and her good kind of always being positive, you know, and I know I struggle with that because I tend to like complain and, you know, and whatever. And when I see her posts, I just think, oh, a breath of fresh air. And Tracey England, same, you know, like, so those were the girls I started out with. And then the ones in Dubai, like, you know, Amuna and Gaia. There's Menat Tam that I met, you know, once, twice. But I follow her, like, through her, you know, her pregnancy and everything. So, like, those girls inspire me, but everybody does, you know? Like, and then when I think of people like Tam Nation, Sigrid, you know, or Anna, Mariam, like, totally inspires me. So, like, but the list is very, very, very long, you know? So I can't, like, and I'm sure, like, of course I've forgotten a million because there's so many of them. But I think, you know, like, some inspire me for, like, Loretta. I get inspired because she's 10 on 10 technical, you know, like in her, like, execution of the moves. It's like, wow, you know, I wish I could get it like that, like she does. So she inspires me for that. Other people like Nat Glow in Florida. She's like such a real person, like she's so authentic and positive as well. So I guess different people inspire me for different things, you know. So, but you can't ask me to just pick one.
Well, we have some questions in the chat. So Alexandra would like to know if you have a favorite Tam move.
A favorite Tam move? Okay, so I like you know, it's funny, but I love anything that's like side planks. Anything that involves side planks, or when you have to thread your leg, and I know a lot of people hate them. But to me, when she started introducing those moves, I remember, like, instantly, like, at first it was really hard because those moves, they really force you to figure out, like, sort out your whole shoulder and not putting all your weight on, you know, on your hand and whatever. So at first it's a struggle, but I really love those kind of moves where you have to, like, lift off and then, like, thread your leg through. Like, there's I think there's some this week, you know, now they pop up regularly. So I really like those moves. But I think all of the moves are great. Or the other things I love is all the complex compound moves, like the ones that are very choreography. I think those are amazing because I feel like they work out so many, like all the moves work everything out, but I think the fact that you're connecting different moves together really smartens up your different chains of muscles so that they can all communicate, and I just feel like those are amazing moves. So yeah, so I'd say those are the two categories that I like.
Cole has a question about the forum. She said, do you remember the person from the forum that was an author in England? She was helpful.
Oh, Michelle Stiles.
Okay.
Yeah, Michelle Stiles.
Okay.
What?
Is she on Instagram?
You know, I think she is, but I'm not sure if, like, I don't think she ever did streaming. I think she stuck with meta, like when there was meta and continuity and whatever, and then there was streaming, she's like, I don't need streaming, I'm just going to redo what we've done in the past few years. So I think that's what became of Michelle in terms of the Tracey Anderson method, but I haven't heard from her in ages. But she was also part of that beginning group, of the forum that we used to like chat a lot together.
Wow, but I think I was only on board for a few months or something before it disappeared, but it's such a cool thing to think about. Nicole also wants to know, how do you explain the method to someone who knows nothing about it?
I think who knows nothing about it, first I stay simple and I say it's a math-based method. So you're on a mat. And it's similar to, I'll try to relate it to what something people know. So I'll say it's similar to Pilates or yoga. I mean, we know that it's not like Pilates and yoga, but like it's similar to Pilates or yoga in that, it works all sorts of muscles. But it's different in many ways. And one of the ways in which it's very different is that it really, it's movement as opposed to moves, so for me, her method does, it makes you move. It's not just little reps of the same thing all the time. It's like, it makes you move. It really develops your proprioception, so your awareness of yourself in space. And she makes you do all sorts of moves you've never done before. So you develop your muscles, like the same muscle that in Pilates, you'll work it in a certain way. Oh, that's my dog in the background. Tracey will work that muscle and like all the other ones, but she'll work it at a different angle, or you're going to do it, on all fours, or you're going to do it on the side, or she's going to work the same muscle in very different ways, which makes that muscle really, really smart. It makes it able to communicate with all the other muscles like really well. So I may not get into those details like for a newbie, but I'll just say it's like a mat-based method like yoga, Pilates, except it really works more movement-based, and it really works a lot of the little muscles and makes them work together in ways that other fitness methods don't. And because she does this whole movement thing, and she makes she makes all the little muscles connect and force them to work well together to support the bigger muscles. It does create this kind of smoother shape, like a long, lean kind of smooth shape. But yeah, I think people just need to try it.
Agreed, but that's a great way to explain it. We have another question from Alexandra. She said, can you please explain the extra butt hip bulge muscle that you were able to retrain? I hope this question
Oh my gosh. Listen, I think, you know what? I think we need to ask Tracey about that. You should do an Ask Tamily with Tracey one day. And ask about that. I don't know, right? Like, I'm not a Tracey Anderson trainer. I'm not Tracey. But every time I've ever had an issue with, I'm bulking too much or whatever, and I know Tracey had always said, in her different videos or question answer stuff, when people, bulk or whatever, it's a question of form. And it was always kind of, I didn't believe her because I'm like, I don't understand. I have perfect form. I don't get it. But I really do think it's all about form. So for me, like, I can't get up on my couch and show but I have a YouTube video on this where basically it's kind of like the glute medius muscle. It's like the side, you know the bulge, right? Like, you know what she's talking about? Like that muscle on the side. It's, I think I was maybe there's a lot of things. One of the things is I was charging that muscle too much, and you charge that muscle by doing abductions of the leg, like of those muscles, or external rotation of the hip, and then like all those kind of attitude, and then arabesque lifts. If you externally rotate your hip too much, then you're not going to feel it in the back of the butt like she wants you to. You know what I mean? Like you're going to feel it more on those side muscles. And sometimes you have to do that because she's doing it that way. But I think there are many times where she wasn't doing it that way and I was, so sometimes those leg lifts and those angles, they're tricky, or sometimes I felt like, I was externally rotating too much and ended up building that up. But I think it all goes back to where do you feel it in your body? So sometimes, if you've got that thing that, or like if that muscle feels like over proportioned or like too strong or too dominant, when you're using it. And the more dominant it is, the more dominant it becomes, right? So you need to at some point tweak and go, oh, okay, like I'm feeling it too much here. Like internally rotate your legs, see where you feel it. Like everybody's body is different, everybody's legs are different. Everybody's, the way the angle at which the bone goes in, to the socket at the hip, everyone's different. So some people will never have that problem. Some people do, and if you do, then it could be that or anything else. Just watch your form and pay attention to where you feel it in your body. I think what helped me as well, and that's in general when it comes to just where you feel stuff, when doing the method, is know your anatomy. Like when you know your anatomy, like if you take an anatomy class or you read up on it a lot, or you know what it looks like. So when you're working out, you'll be like, oh, is that muscle? Is that, like, you have it in your head of what anatomy is, and so you can better identify what muscles you are working and not working when you're working out. So I think that helps a lot. But I'm a bit nerdy geeky when it comes to stuff like this, so that's maybe why I spend so much time trying to figure it out. And I think, to be honest though, I think she does work it more now than she did before. Like there's a lot of things she focuses more on than before. But so like she I think she does build it up more than before, and that's normal. But for me, it was it was overpowering, and it was causing issues, and like I was doing it wrong. So it's all about form. So I don't know if that answers the question, but watch the YouTube video. I think
we definitely will. What would be some of your tips for making sure your form is right? Like, do you always watch the breakdown videos?
No. Okay, so that's my thing. I probably should. I don't. I watch them when I don't get a move, or when I feel like I'm doing it wrong, then I'll go and watch. But I felt like often, I haven't watched them in a while, but I felt that often the breakdowns were good, but they just kind of described what you have to do, but they didn't say like, oh, you should feel it here or there. I think maybe that might have changed in recent months. I'm not sure, but so that's why I had stopped watching them, because I'm like, okay, I know where what I have to be doing, but I don't know where to feel it. And so for form, I would say, look in the mirror, videotape yourself and see how you're doing it. And the other thing, really watch where her hands are, watch where her knee is facing, where her hip is facing, like all those details make a big difference. So definitely do that. And then, also, like, if something feels too hard, like if something you're like, this is impossible, how is she doing 20 of these? I can't even do 5, like a push-up. And I had this problem with push-ups. I had a problem with that problem with a lot of things at the beginning with planks. And if something feels too hard, then reassess, and like try to remember, where are you feeling it? Is your butt in the right place? Are your abs feeling it? Are you engaging everything? Like for a long time, I bulked up my shoulders a bit too much, because on the planks, I was just putting too much weight on my hands, and I wasn't really paying attention to exactly where my hands were, and over time, I think your body figures out like where to put your weight and where to shift your weight when you need to, and so on. Like for example, a lot of beginners, if you're in all fours and you're doing like those side kind of hydrant with side kicks, where she kicks to the side. She always sways her hip to the opposite side so that, but beginners won't do that necessarily. They're just going to fling their leg and you're like, well, no, you're making it hard. You're stuck. She says it herself, right? Always try to be loose, like when you have to, like be like an animal. And I think that really stuck. When she had started saying that, I was like, yeah, be like an animal. And when you start like being conscious of that, I think it really helps with form. But yeah, try not to feel stuck. Try to feel nimble. Feel like your shoulders are not like this. Like keep it, loose when it needs to be. And there are times where you don't exactly have to mimic her. I mean, her shape, like her torso is a certain size. Her legs are a certain size. Her arms are a certain size. So maybe for you. You need to bend the arms, and you feel like, oh, she's not bending a lot, but she's got short arms, right? So you may have to bend more, put your hand, so you have to stay loose and flexible, like in terms of where you position stuff. So yeah, I think my biggest tip with form is like, videotape yourself, watch yourself. You need to feel smooth. Like you're never going to make it look easy if you're feeling it like, I'm stuck and whatever. I don't know if that explains well enough.
It does. I think that goes to your point about it being a method of movement and not moves. Like it's not a separate thing.
Totally. Like your whole body needs to get it like fully engaged.
So we have a question from below. And she said, how have you learned to lower your cortisol levels when you don't know statistically on paper if they're high? How does your body change your workout?
Okay, so for my cortisol levels, like I don't like cortisol levels. I don't measure them like that regularly. But at one point I was, because when you measure, if you want to measure it well, cortisol, you need to like spit in a thing like 5 times in one day to see at what time, like where your cortisol is at many hours of the day, because it has a circadian rhythm. So it's supposed to be high to wake you up, and then it goes lower until you go to bed. And so I think that it was 3 years ago, I started kind of paying attention to it, and I had measured them, at maybe in the 2 month period, 3 times or something like that, 4 times maybe, with a doctor who had given me the stuff to be able to do it, and I felt like I got it. You could feel like if I was really tired and I hadn't slept and whatever, they would be really high early in the morning. And I think to this day, when I feel like if I'm starting to wake up super early, like at 4 a.m. for no reason, and I have to like force myself to go back to bed, usually for me that's a telltale sign that my cortisol is off. Because I used to get that a lot. Like there was a period, that's why I just stopped cardio. And but it's not just fitness, right? It's also like stress in your life and your habits, and like it's so like fitness is one part. Having said that, for some people, doing I don't know, like an attain class is too much for them every day, or 5 times a week. It's like it's too much, and that will it's not good for their cortisol levels. For others, it's fine. So everybody's got a different kind of, level for that. So for me, it's the waking up early thing that really is my sign. So I know. But yeah, I guess everybody's got their feeling of it.
Yes. So question said that someone asked Natalie this question during her interview, and an interesting topic that Tracey doesn't talk about as much as the early days. What do cross vectors do?
Cross vectors? I mean, I don't know, okay? Like, Nat Glow is probably, like, she's the doctor, right? She's the physio, she knows all these things, right? For me, cross vectors just, your muscles are all connected, right? So if you're swinging your right leg towards, I don't know, you're on all fours swinging the right leg into arabesque, let's say, well, okay, you're right, like that's moving and that's working, but I think, that right leg and hip and those muscles are connected to your opposite shoulder muscle, you know what I mean? Through fascia and through a bunch of things. So I think to me, cross-vector is like, well, one thing works, another thing is working in conjunction with it, but in a ta-da kind of way. I don't know how to explain it, but so to make to optimize the movement, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, so for me, cross-vector is like energy goes out one way, but it also goes out, it's counterbalanced by something else. But to be honest with you, I wish we could get a more like specific kind of anatomical explanation of it. This is my guess, right? But I don't think of it as cross-vector. I don't know. Like that to me is just all muscles are connected, and they really are. And all of our movements, like everything's connected. Your abs, and as you get better at the method, right? Like as you get better, there are moves like if you do an all fours, I don't know, attitude lift. Way back in the day, maybe you didn't feel your abs because maybe back then those parts of the abs weren't like developed. But as you feel it and as you develop your back muscles and everything, you'll be like, when I do this with the leg, when I do that lift, I actually feel it in the upper butt and in the back and I feel it in the abs when the leg goes in, and so you become much more sensitive and in tune with it because you've developed that sensitivity, and also you've developed the muscle, so you will feel the cross-vector maybe better. But to be honest, I don't know like what she exactly meant by cross-vector, but I think something like that. But I would refer back to Nat Blow because she's the authority when it comes to that kind of anatomy,
Yeah, but I think a lot of that makes sense, especially for, like, in my case, I wasn't physically active at all before this method. So everything I realized about that has come from the method. People who are athletic before probably have some of that already. But I think you can see how, like, you saw your leg in a leg lift, but everything is involved. And sometimes things are even harder because it's like, I have to do this with my leg. And if I think about, I do it with my whole body, it's actually weird. Like, you end up evolving in that sense. But I think it takes, like you said, doing the method and realizing all of that becomes like an evolution.
Totally, like it really is. And I feel like if you ever do old stuff, like do you ever do like old DVDs once in a while, and you see how they feel so much different when you do them now than when you did it years ago, because you've developed so much. And it really is that whole movement thing. And I think that's what's special about the method. It is like it forces you to figure out how to get your body from here to there to, and that's why I like those compound moves and all those types of moves. It's like, it's forcing your body to figure it out and to get really smart and get all the muscles working together, and, and it develops all those little muscles. So I think it's like those, the ancillary muscles, what was she calling them? The accessory muscles. Remember, she used to talk about the accessory muscles? All those little muscles, they get, like, if you don't use them, they never work, right? Because they're they're ancillary muscles, they're secondary muscles, they're the ones that support the movement, right? And so if you're always working your quads or your glute max or the usual suspects, the more you use those, the other ones get lazy. It's like children, and the parents do everything for them. Right? So if the parents are always doing everything for them, well, the children don't end up learning anything, and I think she gets the children like heavily involved, and so like that, like it, you move better, you move more smoothly, and you're more agile, and you have better body awareness and all that stuff. So yeah.
Absolutely. So Shrink Girl has a question. She said
Oh,
she
Kathy.
about the brain part in the whole method. We have both talked about that a lot.
Well, Kathy would know more about it. Shrink Girl would know more about it than I do, because she's the one who recovered from a stroke and is doing, like, streaming every day. But I mean, what I know is that, like, I wouldn't explain this to a newbie, but I think, like, Tamily would be interested by that, is that when I took my Pilates certification, it was a certification where they gave a lot of, like, courses as well on neurology and kind of how it's, connected to movement, and how movement influences your brain and your nervous system, and how your nervous system and your brain influences movement. And one of the concepts we learned is proprioception, and it is the fact that your brain has a homunculus, is what they call it. It's basically, it has some kind of intelligent 3D model of what your body looks like, and what it knows how to do, based on all the movements you've ever done since the beginning of time. So it's like, it has a database of knowledge on Ariana's right hand, and it knows exactly what Ariana's right hand knows what to do, because it has tons of information, because Ariana's right-handed. It has less info on the left hand. So when I do stuff with my left hand, the brain's going to be like, oh, I'm not sure if she can do this or that or whatever. Or, for example, Tracey does a lot of stuff on all fours where you have to move your leg back, right? We're not used to moving our legs backwards, right? So our brain, that 3D model, is like, I don't know if her leg can do that, So the first time you do a back leg lift, the back diagonal, like an open diagonal, you think you're doing an open diagonal, but maybe it's going straight back up and you don't know unless you're, you know what I mean? Like looking at a mirror or something. So the first few times, but but you create those synaptic connections, and the neurons that fire together, they're wired together, and you learn, and that homunculus, or that kind of 3D model in your brain, knows, it gets better at getting to know your body, and so you can move better. You become a better mover based on that. So that was one of the things. I think our brain, like, the more we move, the more it knows what you can do, and that's why it's good to sometimes slow it down. Like if there's a move you don't know how to do, you feel like this is weird, you do it really slowly, the brain kind of figures it out, and then the more you do it, it's like, it's just learning, right? And so I think when it comes to movement, it's all practice, it's all like, your brain likes novelty as well in some ways, like, so I think you just need to keep learning new moves. That's why this method is so good, because she changes stuff up all the time. So learning new moves, learning new choreographies, the arms at the beginning, like, it's good. It's really good, because it helps your brain know what your body is capable of, and it develops your muscular structure. So, I mean, I could go on for a long time, but yeah, it's really beneficial for the brain. Also, dance choreographies, I don't do them enough times. Like, I really should go back in her old premium stuff where she would teach. I don't know if she still does it in performance, where she teaches choreographies. I think that's amazing for your brain. Like, anything like that, like, is really good for your brain, and it's really good for aging, and like, staying nimble, staying agile. I think that's why this method sticks with people who are a bit older. You know what I mean? Because we see the benefit of it, whereas somebody who's like 25 might just go, oh, I just want to burn calories and like run really fast. Or, do you know what I mean? But now I feel like I'm not going to give this up tomorrow. Like, forget it. My secret to to staying young in my body. So yeah.
So we are reaching the end of our hour, which I cannot even believe. I had so much fun talking to you. If Instagram didn't cut us off at an hour, I would So I just have a couple of other questions to ask. One thing we just want to make sure that you can share is where do you live and what do you do?
I live in Dubai, so my husband's French. Okay, let me just do a quick. My mom's Belgian, my dad's Iranian. I grew up in Canada, and when I was 25, I moved to France. I got married with a Frenchman, and then we moved from Nice to Dubai in 2011 when I started Tracey Anderson. What do I do? I work as a marketing director for a company that does psychometric assessments, which is like an HR kind of solution for employers, and we work with youth and as well, and universities and schools, and with for career guidance and so on. So I'm marketing director. I do that part time, and the rest of the time, I mean, I give a few Pilates kind of fusion kind of classes here and there, but I do that like with people I know. So I don't like teach at a gym or anything like that. I do it more for pleasure. And then I also have a website called Well Mama, which I have to spend more time on, but I've been just so busy lately, but where I share recipes and interviews and wellness things. So I think like my passions are like, food and movement and wellness and all those things. Like I love all that stuff. And I don't do it for a living, but I do it as like my hobbies and occupations. So there, in a nutshell.
Well, I appreciate you putting it in a nutshell for us. We have 3 minutes left. While you have this audience, is there anything else you want to share with the Tamily?
Yes, one thing I would want to say to everybody, and like at whatever fitness level you're at, wherever you are at in your fitness journey, I think one of the things, it took me years, and it's only in the past like year I feel like I'm coming to terms with it, is like I was saying earlier, I think we women, we put so much pressure on ourselves to, be slim and be healthy and clean and whatever, and that's good and all, like I don't want to bash it, like fitness, like moving every day and being healthy is good. But slim doesn't mean beautiful. Slim doesn't mean successful. Slim doesn't mean all the positive things that it's so often associated with. So, remember that. I think it's important that everybody kind of remembers that and don't take this whole fitness diet thing too seriously, and don't get too obsessed with it, because health is so much more than that. It's family, it's spending time with friends, it's enjoying life, it's, keeping your cortisol levels down naturally. You know what I mean? Yeah. So as much as I love fitness and like I love kind of trying to be healthy and whatever, I think it's good to kind of at some point go like, because it's easy to get very obsessed once you get into these things, and I have, and I think it's only with age I felt like, we need to, like, this is, it's so easy to get too stressed on details and things like that, and it's good to just not be too hard on yourself. I think that's the main message I would say, no matter who you are and where you're at.
I appreciate that very much. We are down to 1 minute, so I just want to take a second to thank you for a really inspirational interview and your inspirational post and being part of the Tamily. We really want to get to talk to you.
I'm so thankful for being on this interview. I feel like we could talk for another hour, but
we will have to.
Thank you so much. We'll have to do round 2.
Definitely. Have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thanks, Tamily. Bye.
Bye.